Hello, everybody. Hi, I hope I'm audible and visible. Welcome to what is going to be a very, very interesting session, mainly because when we look at it from the perspective of 2024, the actual countdown starts now because this is going to end up becoming the first session or actually the first exam that any of you all will be writing for the target year 2024. So MBA 2024 exam season actually kickstarts today. The very first exam is less than 100 days away, and we kickstart the season with NMAT 2024. So before I get started, I just want you all to confirm that I'm audible and visible. Just type in a CC into the chat box, and I know everything is fine. And we quickly go ahead and kickstart today's session. It's going to be a short, interesting session where we're going to talk in depth about the NMAT exam. I've been writing this exam for almost a decade now. Wrote it last year as well. Was lucky enough to score a decent score. So I'm going to bring in a lot of experience, bring in a lot of personal understanding of the exam as we go ahead and decode this exam and get prepared for NMAT 2024 and what exactly we should be doing over the next 90 days. Hi Ishan, hi Shubham. I hope everything is good. Let's actually go ahead and kickstart. Hope things are fine and I'm audible and visible. So enough said, let's quickly kickstart with today's session. Let's start with NMAT 2024. Okay. So first and foremost, to make it easy for you so that you also understand what exactly we are going to go ahead and discuss in today's session. Well, we're going to talk about the following things. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the NMAT exam in totality, what the exam is like, what is it that you can expect. This is one of the few exams which you can write in two modes. That means you can write it at home or you can write it at the center. So what are the kind of documents you would need if you want to write it at either of those two places? What are some of the things that you should keep in mind regarding that? It is an exam which is spread over a very, very long window, almost 70 to 75 days. So, what would be the ideal time to write the exam? Stuff like that is what we will talk about. Secondly, we'll talk a little bit about what the exam paper pattern is like and exactly what was in store in NMAT 2023 across the various slots. So a summation or an average of that, an NMAT 2023 analysis along with cutoffs and looking at all three sections. And finally, getting into the NMAT 90-day strategy and what it is that you should go ahead and do. Does this make sense? If everybody is fine and ready, type in CC and we'll go ahead and kickstart. All cool? Make sense? Perfect. Make sense? These three things. Should we kickstart with the all about the NMAT exam? As I said, I want a lot of interactivity in the chat box. So please keep posing questions, keep asking things. I will pick them up as and when they are relevant. Want to hear yes, C? Okay, perfect. Love the CCs. They've started coming. Okay, so let's go ahead and kickstart with all about the NMAT exam. So what is the exam about? What is it that we have in store? So first and foremost, this is an exam which, as I said, you can write in two modes. Either you can write it at home or you can write it at the center. Now, if you're writing this exam at home, well, these are the following things that you need to take care of. The NMAT admit card. Now, the NMAT application form should be opening anytime soon. Why? Because the exam expected timeline of the exam is generally somewhere in the vicinity of about 8 to 10th of October till roughly about 20th of December. This is what the timeline would be. 8 to 10th of October to roughly about the 20th of December. So almost spanning, you can turn around and say almost spanning about 75 days or so. Now, considering that the registration form should be opening very, very soon. So the NMAT admit card is something you should carry. Original ID proof. A secondary ID proof is something that they will be looking at as well. A confirmation email printout, one white paper with signature, and this is where it becomes interesting, one wooden pencil. You are allowed only 2 scrap papers for rough work. So this is an interesting thing that you need to note, and that is why I put it here. You all will be thinking abhi ye kyun iske bare baat kar raha hai, why is he talking about admit card right now and all of that, jab abhi registration hi nahi shuru hua. I am mainly talking about it from this perspective. This is an exam which if you are taking at home, खाली दो piece of scrap paper allowed है, और उस scrap paper में आपको quant भी करना है, आपको reasoning भी करना है. So that's not going to be easy. You need to ensure you're not wasting paper. They do not allow you to keep more paper than that. The invigilator will be there. तुम third paper उठाओगे, problem शुरू हो जाएगी. So don't do that. Okay. Clear the desk area. They will ensure that with the camera, they move it all around and see what you've done. And no other electronic gadgets in the room. On the flip side, if you're taking it at the center, what are the requirements? Admit card, original ID proof, secondary proof, photocopy of the admit card, confirmation email printout. Now keep this in mind. If you're taking it at the center, what they provide is a different kind of sheet. They provide almost like I don't know what you call it, almost like a plastic sheet, plastic piece of paper with a marker. This is what is provided, and then you can erase it with the marker. You will write on the sheet and then you can erase it also, but they give you more plastic sheets of paper. I don't know exactly what that material is, but it's not normal pen and paper, so it's slightly different. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Okay, I hope this part is clear to everybody. We'll spend a little bit on time on what is the exam flow like. There are 3 or 4 elements in it. So let's look at what the 6 elements are. Element 1, examee snap, picture upload, signature upload. They will go ahead and check that. You begin the scheduled test, which is examee show. Then you move to examee know, which is basically showing off your documents to the proctor, ensure all your documents are there. Answer to the security question, again very important, which is why I put this here. When you will register for the NMAT exam, at that point in time, they will ask you a security question. You will give 1 or 2 answers. You might select 1 security or 2 security question and give an answer. Please take a screenshot of that. Please note it somewhere in your mail ID drafts or in a secure place. Why? Because this will be needed during your exam, especially if you're taking it from home. Many times people forget what their security question was and मैंने क्या answer दिया था. Favorite flavor of ice cream, उस दिन मन chocolate का था, लिख दिया. Actually favorite flavor strawberry या vanilla hai. Exam aaya, you forgot it, you will not be able to write the exam. Happened with 2 students that I know last year. So don't take that risk. It's very important. Okay. And finally, going ahead, agreeing to all terms and conditions. And finally, then, the test kick starts and you go ahead and you download the secure browser and it starts. Okay. Sir, what is CC? CC means carbon copy. Nibble, crystal clear, carbon copy. Beast Slayer, he's having fun at my expense. CC means crystal clear कि सब एकदम मजे से समझ आ रहा है, कोई टेंशन नहीं है. Okay. Is everybody clear till here? Everybody clear about the kind of documents you need to keep in mind and a couple of things to keep in mind. Number 1, you have to keep in mind if you write the exam at home, only 2 sheets of paper. Number 2, answer to your security question. This thing you need to keep in mind, you should not forget. Are we clear with these basic modalities? Are the modalities absolutely fine? Yes, Anvesha is saying. I hope it's fine for the others as well. Let's quickly move on. Okay, let's keep moving on. Okay. Now this is the important part, which is the schedule of the exam. Now when you are scheduling the exam, now NMAT exam mein hota kya hai? You first go ahead and register, then you have to make your payment. Once you've made your payment, the scheduling of your slot happens after the payment. After that, the window opens in front of you. Now this is an example of, say, me taking the exam at home. So this is what it looked like. Okay, now look at it. This is in 2021. Same screenshot maine dala hua hai. So look at this. When you see this dulled out means slot not available. It is already over. All of this means all of these slots are available. Now, important thing to keep in mind, the later you look at it, imagine you start searching for this on the 25th of October, 30th of October, you will get very minuscule number of slots. You will not get a lot of slots. Most of them will be taken away. For example, look at it here. Now let me change the color, right? Let me change this color a little bit. Apologies for that. Oops. Yeah, where am I? Let me change the color a little bit so that I can circle. Yeah. Now look here, even for people taking it at home, the first window was 15th to the 19th of October in 21, then 25th to the 29th of October, then from 29th October to 8th November kuch nahi tha, 8th to 12th November and so on and so forth. Ab hota kya hai? These are all windows. So window 1, window 2, window 3, window 4, window 5, window 6. Now, generally, the way you are marked is your marks come out at the end of the first window. So the moment the first window ends, say the 19th, you can expect within about 10-15 days of that, your scorecard will be out. Okay? Samjho scorecard aa gaya, overall you scored 235. Let me examine. Say 235 you scored overall. Okay? Now the point is, others might be writing in window 2, somebody else in window 3, somebody else in window 6. When all the windows are over, they will come out with a percentile and a cutoff. That comes only in December and early January. Okay, so basis your score, you will have a decent idea of whether you can get a call or not, but you will have no idea of the percentile you can expect, because the cutoff is decided after normalization across all 6 slots, across all 6 windows. I hope everybody is clear with this part. Okay, this is a very, very important part. There will be 6 unique windows in the NMAT exam. And the same will be there in online and offline. Okay, please keep that in mind. Secondly, a very interesting thing, if you're taking this exam from home, this is going to be one of the few exams where you can take the exam at 11:30 p.m. So in case you're a night owl, you are one of those who writes, whose confidence is high in the evening, you are very alive in the evening, let's say that ekdam adrenaline rush hota hai, sabse zyada practice evening mein karte ho, and so on and so forth. This could be one of those exams which might actually work in your favor. CAT exam early morning slot basically means you need to get up at 5 a.m. to reach the exam slot. Here aisa kuch nahi hai. You can take the exam at 11:30 p.m. at night as well, because the proctor will be available. So all of you night owls, this is an exam right up your alley. This is an exam where you should go ahead and maximize. Why? Because this is the time when you are giving your optimal output. Is that clear? Are these two parts clear to everybody? Are these two parts clear to everybody? Okay, 6 specific windows. Normalization happens at the end of it, but the normalization is not in your marks, it is only in the cutoff. Okay, NMAT is an online exam. The exam can be taken either at the center or it can be taken at home. Money and banking, lovely name. I hope everybody is clear with this part. Okay, so 2 or 3 important things that we've covered till now. Number 1, in the NMAT exam, know your security answer. Number 2, the exam can happen at home or it can happen at center. If the exam is happening at home, please keep in mind it happens, you can take the exam at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night as well. And finally, the exam happens across multiple windows. Your scorecard will be out at the end of your window within 10 days of that. The cutoff will only be out at the end of all 6 windows, which will happen only towards the end of December or early Jan. Okay, perfect, lovely. Now quickly, let's keep moving on. There are certain system requirements that you should keep in mind for all of you all who are going to write it at home. So we pointed it out right here up front itself. If you look at this, your operating system, Windows 10 or above, secure browser will have to be downloaded. Your net speed will need to be at least minimum 1.5 Mbps. Your Chrome version needs to be this or above. So please keep this in mind. This is important. At the time of registering, you will be able to download the secure browser on your system to check whether it works properly or not before you decide whether you'll take the exam online or offline. You will have to decide that at the time of registration. So please keep that in mind. Download karke check kar lena secure browser theek se chal raha hai ki nahi. Okay. Now, before I move on to this, before I move on to the second part, one last part, which is the interface. Well, in the exam, you can attempt, the exam as per your take, which means you can decide the sequence in which you want to attempt the paper. What does that basically mean? There are 3 sections. Let's call them LR. Let's call it quant. Let's call it verbal. Obviously, naam alag hai. Hum baad mein jaake dekh lenge, but that does not matter. Which means 3 factorial, which means 6 possible combinations. Start with LR, move to quant, and move to verbal. Start with LR, move to verbal, move to quant. Start with quant, move to LR, move to verbal. Start with quant, move to verbal, move to LR. Start with verbal, move to LR, move to quant. Start with verbal, move to quant, move to LR. All 6 possible combinations. You get to decide the order in which you want to take the exam. Right up front, all 6 combinations will be there. You need to tick on one and you decide which one you will take. Okay, so that's a very important thing. Across your mocks, practice different combinations and realize which combination works best for you. Towards the end of the session, I will tell you which combination works best for me and which one I suggest. There is no question palette here. Okay, one question at a time aata hai. Right mein kuch nahi hai ki question 1 se I can go to question 6, from there I can go to question 12. No, it comes one question at a time and every question has to be attempted. Okay, now imagine, this is what your screen looks like. It's divided into 2 parts hypothetically. Imagine there is a passage here and imagine there are questions here. Now, this passage, you need to scroll down, right? Imagine you've read this much and you know is question ka answer yahi se aa raha hai. It will not let you answer and move on. It will force you to scroll down the entire RC. You will have to scroll down the entire RC, then answer the question, then click next and move on. So all of these things are very important. These are intangibles where you waste time. This is a timed exam. Every minute, every second, marks matter, and something I'll talk about when we get to the structure. So please be careful of this. Practice all of this in your mocks. Next, going back to the previous question, not allowed. Once you answered a question, done. You can't change the answer. Okay. Also, if you don't answer a question, you can't move ahead. You can't skip. There is no negative marking in this exam, so every question has to be attempted. Okay. Please keep that in mind. So compulsory to attempt all. Are we clear with all of this? Before I move on to section 2, which is the NMAT 2023 analysis. Few questions. Which is better option, home or center? more secure and preferable. The problem with home generally is the net issue. So if your net is fine, you can take it at home, otherwise center. Again answered. Can we attempt offline and other online? Can we switch every attempt of its fixed across attempts? Okay, so it is up to you. You can switch across attempts. However, please keep in mind for NMIMS Mumbai, only the first attempt is considered, second attempt onwards not considered. So if you're serious about NMIMS Mumbai, the first attempt has to be awesome. Okay. So I hope I've answered your questions. Now, before we move on to the NMAT 2023 analysis, what the paper was like and what was the analysis, quickly go ahead and like the stream. Quickly, jaldi. जैसी लाइक किया है तुरंत बताओ which slot is better, Nida? I'm going to pick this up. I'll pick this up later. There's a particular section on that. Quickly go ahead and do that so that we quickly keep moving, right? Done. Sir, what is the cutoff? Again, cutoff is also going to come. Everything is there. See, Tyagi is coming, saying done. Shubham is coming, saying jaldi karo. Any negatives? No negatives. Okay. There is no negative marking at all. Lovely. I love the duns. Let's quickly keep moving. Let's move to the NMAT 2023 analysis. Before the analysis, let's have a look at what the structure of the paper was. The structure is expected to be exactly the same this year as well. Look at this. 108 questions, odd number. 36 questions per section. But the important part is this column, which is time. In language skills, which is basically verbal, you can call it VARC for all practical purposes. What does it entail? It entails verbal and entails reading comprehension. It does not contain critical reasoning, statement assumption, statement conclusion. It does not entail verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning logical reasoning mein aayega. ठीक है? So language skills mein khali grammar, preposition, RC, vocabulary. That's it. That's all that is there. You get only 20 minutes. So that's less than 1 minute per question. Please keep that in mind. Then logical reasoning, there are two parts to it. Not that in the paper you will see two parts, but I'm telling you there are two parts to it. One, there is verbal reasoning. Second, there is analytical reasoning. What is verbal reasoning? Statement assumption, statement conclusion, course of action, critical reasoning, those sort of questions. What is analytical reasoning? Analytical reasoning is like your LR. इसमें DI नहीं आता. DI comes in quant. LR में क्या आएगा? Blood relation, matrix arrangements, arrangement के ऊपर set, clocks and calendar, direction sense, all your LR basic sort of things, not complicated. The level is nowhere close to CAT. It is way easier. Okay. However, here again, the time 40 minutes for 36 questions. And finally, quant, where you have 52 minutes for 36 questions. Now, cutoff I'll talk about later in detail, but I'll just give you an overview. The cutoff last year was about 234 marks. And if I look at it from the perspective of the last 4 or 5 years, if you score 235 plus, you are safe. You are safe to go ahead and get a call from NMIMS Mumbai. However, I will repeat, please keep in mind, only the first attempt is considered by NM Mumbai. Other attempts are not considered by NM. Okay, please keep that in mind. So from an NM perspective, only the first attempt matters. Okay, 108 questions, 120 minutes, timed per section. You get to decide the order of the section. This is what the exam paper pattern looks like. Is everybody clear with this? Is everybody clear with this? Approx date, Ananya is asking. Ananya, approximate date of the exam is exactly the same as I stated. You can expect it to start somewhere around the 8th or the 10th of October, continue till about the 20th of December. How many times you can attempt? You can attempt thrice. For NM, only the first attempt is considered. Clear? Cool. Is everybody clear with this? Perfect. Makes sense. Let's quickly move on. Now that we are done with what the overall paper pattern is, let's actually get a little deeper into what the section wise outlook was. So let's start off with the first section, which is quantitative skills. QS बोलते हैं क्यों? अलग बोलने के लिए. हम quantitative ability बोलते हैं, quants बोलते हैं, ये लोग बोलते हैं अपना नाम अलग होना चाहिए, हमें अपनी अलग पहचान बनानी है इस दुनिया में. So NM has gone ahead and created its पहचान, its quantitative skills. Another reason why it's skills is it is not just quant or math. It is anything where the math part can be applied, which means in short, DI is also a part of this. Okay, that's why it's called quant skills. Let's look at the breakup that has come over the last few years. If I look at it from the perspective of last year, or if you look at it from the perspective of the last 5 years, just have a look at this. I always state in CAT that it's the A&A show, arithmetic and algebra show. Similarly, in NMAT, the arithmetic show surely continues. Algebra show nahi aata hai itna. Last 5 years se agar dekh lo, algebra 3352 nil. So if out of 36 questions, you can basically turn around and state worst case scenario, about 15% of the paper will be algebra. Ideal scenario, it will be 10% or less than 10% of the paper that will be algebra. But arithmetic for sure makes its presence felt. It is almost 30% of the entire paper. Data interpretation, 2 sets last year, 2 sets the year before. Beach mein there were years when it was 3 to 5 sets and so on and so forth. I expect it to continue to be anywhere between 2 to 3 sets this year. Data sufficiency questions also come. Data sufficiency, is not just based on DI sort of questions. It is based on all topics, which means arithmetic भी आ जाता है, algebra भी आ जाता है, numbers भी आ जाता है, PNC भी आ जाता है, सब आ जाता है. Interesting part is last 3 years से geometry mensuration has not found its presence here. So I keep stating even in CAT that time and work and time, speed and distance combined का weightage is equal to geometry. यहाँ पे तो मैं वो भी नहीं बोलूंगा geometry उतना आता नहीं. Having said that does not mean you leave geometry. You don't know, they will throw a surprise and this year 10 questions will come. But if you ask me, geometry not that important, not as important as say arithmetic or number systems or modern math, when it comes to NMIMS or when it comes to NMAT. Okay? Now you look at this part, look at modern math, and especially look here in the year 2022. Modern math in 2022, 9 questions. You're saying roughly 25% of the paper was modern math. Probability, permutation, combination, sets, very, very important. So while we keep stating CAT में ज्यादा नहीं आएगा, यहाँ पे आएगा. So your basics of probability, basics of PNC, basics of set theory needs to be there. Similarly, number system dekho, last year 7 questions. What topics? HCF, LCM, factors, not a lot of factorial, but a little bit. Cyclicity, properties of numbers, classification of numbers, very, very important. Yesterday, I was taking a session in one of our batches and I was talking about the importance of classification of numbers. Not yesterday, 2 days back. That classification of numbers, even in CAT, you will realize at least one question every year comes from classification of numbers. One question is 3 marks. Full number dekhoge to 2-3 question aate hain. Classification of numbers will continue to be very, very important here as well. Okay, that's predominantly it in terms of the breakup. Now if I go to sub topic level in terms of algebra mein uske deep mein kya aata hai, arithmetic mein aur kya aata hai, look at it. Algebra, log, series, higher order, each of them one. So log we always keep stating, even in CAT is very important. I keep reiterating, log and series are important in every single exam, don't leave it out. Arithmetic, just look at how beautifully it is spread across the table. Percentages bhi hai, SICI bhi hai, PLD is also there, time and work is their ratio. So you can't leave anything. You can't turn around and state, I will leave something. Don't do it. That's not the ideal way of going about it. Data interpretation, DI, table, bar chart and pie chart ka mixture. Table set was also there. Data sufficiency, like I was stating, or you'll find representation from everywhere. Number based, algebra, arithmetic, full proper representation hogi yahan pe. ऐसा कोई नहीं होगा anybody will feel left out. इस exam में nobody feels left out. A very inclusive exam from the perspective of topics feeling हाँ हमारी भी इज्जत है, students हमें भी पढ़ेंगे. Very, very, very inclusive exam. Okay. Number system, as I pointed out, properties, classification, factors, HCF, LCM. Modern math, same, probability, POMCOM, and set theory. I hope everybody is clear with this. Before I move on to the language skill sections, any questions related to the breakup here? How should we select the section? I will talk about it as we go ahead. Don't worry. Sectional cutoffs, I will talk about it. There is an entire slide on that. One question is for how many marks? Generally about 3 marks. But adaptive hai, so you can't really stay. But +3 सोच लो. मॉक्स से नंबर कम हो जाता है, मॉक्स में ज्यादा रहता है? नहीं, ऐसा एकदम कुछ नहीं होता. मॉक्स में जो आपको आएगा मोरलेस वही आएगा यहाँ पे. Marks distribution, we'll go ahead and talk about it. I didn't understand exactly what you're talking about that, Nilesh, but 36 questions, 108 marks, 3 marks per question. It's an adaptive paper. What adaptive means, I will go ahead and talk about. There is an entire section that I have in store today where I'll explain the meaning of adaptive and how you can ensure that adaptive works for you. Okay. What about the question we didn't do due to time shortage? Now, if you have not attempted any question, you'll only get marked basis the questions that you attempted. As simple as that. Which means, for example, you attempted, say, in out of 36 questions in quant, say you attempted 27 questions. ठीक है, उस 27 में से you got 24 correct. 72 है. अब वो 72 जरूरी नहीं है, normalize होते हैं marks across the slot. Like I told you, that 72 could become 79, it could become 69, it could be anything. But the whole point is the remaining questions are all considered incorrect. It is considered you got all the questions you did not attempt wrong. That is what is important. So please keep that in mind. Okay. All the questions you did not attempt, it is considered you got it wrong. Okay. Hence, I keep reiterating this fact. It is important in this exam that you guess. See, नेगेटिव मार्किंग है नहीं, देयर इज नथिंग टू लूज. सो इवन इफ आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग, कुछ मार्क करके आगे बढ़ो. I'll tell you the strategy that I look at when it comes to CAT, when it comes to NMAT. 36 questions है. मैं seriously in a matter of about 52 minutes के आसपास है, in a matter of about 48 minutes, I try to seriously attempt roughly around 28 questions, 25 to 28. So I would recommend anywhere between 25 to 28. You should go ahead and try attempting in 48 minutes. In the remaining 4 minutes, randomly guess the remaining 8 to 10 questions. Just guess it. How to guess? My recommendation once again, in the questions that you seriously answered, please go ahead and see which option came out most likely. अब आई ऑलवेज स्टेट सी आता है, आई एम कैलकाटा से हूं तो सी मेरे लिए अच्छा है, ऑस्पिशियस है. बट जोक्स अपार्ट, लास्ट ईयर फॉर एग्जांपल आई मार्क्ड मोस्टली बी फॉर बॉम्बे. व्हाई? बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ माय आंसर्स वर कमिंग आउट बी इन द सीरियस अटेम्प्ट. सो व्हाट आई डिड, इवन इन द वंस आई वाज गेसिंग, आई मार्क्ड एवरीथिंग बी. And I'm very, very clear looking at my marks. I got 275. I am very, very clear about the fact that at least out of the all my guesses, I would have guessed roughly around 20 questions overall. Is 20 में at least 8 to 9 were right for me. I am 100% sure of that, which is why I got the score that I got. Which means my accuracy was almost 40 to 45% in even the guesses, which is absolutely fine. And the only reason was, in all the serious attempts I looked at, B सबसे ज़्यादा आ रहा है तो B कोई mark answer कर दिया. Is that clear? Is that, can you explain in English? I have explained everything in English. Hindi I've used in between, so don't worry. What I'm basically turning around and stating is, in all the serious attempts that you're putting in all the serious questions that you have a look at, serious attempts that you have in those questions, out of 36, say seriously you attempted 25. Look at the questions, or look at the answer key, the option which you have marked the most often. Say you marked option B for Bombay the most often. Okay, the remaining questions, say 10 questions, 12 questions, whatever there are, the remaining questions you should guess, and just guess all of them as B. Because why? The answer key that was coming out to be correct more often than not for you was B. There is a higher probability B is what the answer would be. That's the way. Theta questions are not there. This is only MCQ. Only MCQ. Okay. Is that clear, Nisha? I just sometimes talk in Hindi, passion, nothing more. So in case you feel you've not understood, ask me to repeat and I'll repeat it in English. Okay? Cool? All cool? Got it? Everybody clear? Let's quickly move on. Let's move on to the verbal section. Okay. Verbal, which is language skills. What do we find? Now, this is what I keep stating. You will find quintessential verbal questions here, which means you will not find verbal reasoning. You will find RC, something you've been doing right from school days. And trust me, this is like school RC. This is school RC. This is not CAT level RC. This is not difficult. It is easy. Sometimes I've even noticed in the RCs that come, say there are 4 paragraphs, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first question is from the first para, the second is from the second, third is third, fourth is fourth. This also happens very often. Okay. So be on the lookout, read the first para, look at the first question. If you get the answer from there, great, it is happening, and move on. Okay, sometimes that also happens, so please be on the lookout. Para jumbles, we know what they are. Simple para jumbles, 4 sentence generally, very, very easy ones, not difficult at all, with options. So para jumble with, it becomes easier. Error detection, that's predominantly grammar. They'll give you a sentence, they'll underline a part of it, and they'll say correct it, or they will turn around and say this is the entire sentence, broken it up into 4 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Which part is incorrect? What would be the right way to write it? Those sort of questions. Fill in the blanks. Once again, entire statement is there, a blank is there, they're asking you to fill it. Sometimes the fill in the blank could be a preposition, they're asking you to fill it with prepositions, or sometimes it could be a normal word that they're asking you to fill it, vocabulary oriented. Analogy, predominantly vocabulary. Okay, this generally is analogy, synonym, and antonym. These 3 generally combined, you will find about 8 questions. So vocabulary is very important for this exam. All of y'all who are enrolled with us, please ensure the vocabulary funda book you look at, the flashcards you look at. We will also have vocabulary sessions on YouTube in case some of you haven't enrolled. I would recommend that you do, but in case you haven't, we will have a few sessions on YouTube for vocabulary as well. But that will be just far and few in between. In general, go ahead and look at a full-fledged program, because that is something that will help you. Okay, I am not going too deeper into the further breakup. I will have a look at that later on when we get to the 90-day strategy and we talk about the verbal strategy. Grammar, what kind of questions came up, what are important tenses, important prepositions, important nouns, important conjunction, so on and so forth. We'll get deeper into that. Okay, let's move to the verbal reasoning part of it. In verbal reasoning, if I have a look at it, in logical reasoning, so I'm moved to the third section. There are two sub parts. It's not divided, it's not like part A and part B, not at all. It's jumbled and mixed, but you can identify it very easily that there is a sub part called verbal reasoning. As I pointed out, statement assumption, statement conclusion, implicit assumption can also sometimes come. Course of action is very it comes very often. A strong argument, weak argument, decision making. So decision making is like the zat decision making, but one question, very very simple, nothing complicated, so you don't need to worry too much stating, oh, I have to prepare for decision making, otherwise what will happen in this exam. Nothing like that. Very simple, straightforward question. All of this, statement assumption, course of action, strong weak arguments, we will have sessions on that on YT, one session for each of them, a couple of sessions. We have an entire plan set up for you, where that we're going to have, which is last lap to NMAT, which will start roughly around 20 to 25 days before the first NMAT slot starts. But I would also recommend that in case you feel I'm not great at this, one session might not suffice, look at enrolling into a program. We will also have NMAT online classes starting very very soon, within a month and a half, okay, specifically for NMAT. Okay, now moving to the second part, which is analytical reasoning. Under logical reasoning, look at the things. Input output is very very important. Now I hope you know what input output is. Input is generally given, then they give step 1. Now say the numbers are 1 2 3 4. Step 1, it became 4 3 2 1. Step 2, it became 3 4 1 2. Step 3, it became 4 3 2 1. Step 4, it became 3 4 2 1. So what has happened? I have reversed it. Taking it as pairs, I reversed it again. Taking it as pairs, I reversed it again. Taking it as pairs, only the first one got reversed. So I've given you an input and an output like this. Now I will randomly state. Imagine step 2 is 5 6 3 4. So what was the input? Or if step 2 is 5 6 3 4, what will be step 4? This is predominantly what input output is. Logical thing. If you're understanding the funda, the steps, it's almost like a computer algorithm. If you're understanding the algorithm step by step, what is happening, it's easy to answer. Logical Venn diagram, basically what do? They go ahead and give you something like this. They'll give you shapes. Okay, then they'll give you this. Then they will say rectangle represents or men, circle represents married people, triangle represents people with children. So how many men are married and have children? So this is they'll give a number here and you have to say that this is the answer. Okay, something like that. So that's a logical Venn diagram. LR set, generally an arrangement set also comes up. One set on 4 questions came up. Finding missing number, they will give a series and they will say, say they give you 3 terms. Say I give you a simple series, 1 4 9 16. What will be the next term? It will be 25 because I'm talking about perfect squares. Simple stuff like this, not very complicated. And an LR singlet. That's predominantly what came up in terms of what the paper pattern last year was and what were the different types of questions that came. Let's look at a few questions. Sir, are there sectional cutoffs? Yes, there are sectional cutoffs. That's the next slide. We're going to talk about cutoffs. So should I give NMAT before CAT or after? Vibhuti, there is a slide on that. Towards the end, I'll talk about the ideal time of going ahead and writing NMAT in. Finally, I'm scoring about 185 in mocks. Can I score 235? Absolutely, you can. You need to be very clear cut about one, which is the place that I'm going to go ahead and maximize my marks. I've got a specific strategy for that in the 90-day strategy, where I'm going to talk about areas of strength and how you can go ahead and maximize your score basis that. Okay, so don't worry, all of this is coming. Are we clear till here? Should I move to the cutoffs? Should I move to the cutoffs? CC bolo, quickly go like the stream. My team is stating not enough likes. We've got almost 170 concurrent viewers at this point in time, but not enough likes. Go like the stream ASAP if you want to know the cutoff. Jaldi karo. This is not for me, this is for the team. They reach their goals, you reach your goal of getting into a B school. So keep everybody happy. I want to keep you happy, I want to keep them happy. Okay, so quickly. Lovely. I love the CCs, love the CCs. Perfect. Let's quickly go ahead. Let's go ahead and have a look at the cutoffs. Let's go ahead and have a look at the cutoffs. Okay, so this is what the NMAT cutoffs have been over the last few years. If I look at NMAT 2023, as I stated, the cutoff was 234. If you look at it over the last 4 years, it has not crossed 235, which is why initially I told you 235 plus will be a very safe score. You can expect a call from NMIMS Mumbai. These cutoffs are predominantly for NM Mumbai. Okay, cutoffs for the other NM colleges I'm going to talk about. There is a slide related to that. If you look at the sectional cutoff, look at this: 71, 71, 76. In the previous year 69 bhi ja chuka hai quant ka cutoff. Generally the quant cutoff is the least. Okay, then logical English, if you look at it over the last 4 years, has been consistent. So if somebody were to ask me, the way I would recommend you should plan this paper is aim for 76 plus in every section and 235 plus overall. Ideal situation to be in is 240 plus overall, 76 plus in every section. You will be comfortable. You will surely get a call. Are we clear about NM Mumbai? Now, if I look at it from the perspective of all the other courses and all the other NM colleges, this is what the cutoffs look like. For HRM also, the cutoff was exactly the same. 234 has been the same over the last 2 years. If I look at it from a business analytics perspective, against 225, digital transformation 222, pharmaceutical management 185. So somebody was saying I'm at 185. You still have a hope of getting into NM, but aim to get into the best, the core. NM core is the best, which is the MBA. This is called NM core. Okay, this is what you should aim for. NM Bangalore is the, between NM Bangalore and NM Mumbai, you have the second best NM college exposure wise, which is why if you look at the cutoffs, more or less the same, 222 and 224. After that, the next would be Hyderabad, followed by Indore. Okay, and you can look at the cutoffs here very, very clearly. I keep reiterating, aim for 76 plus in every section and 240 plus overall. You have a very, very good chance of getting a call. I hope this part is clear. Should we move on to the 90-day exam strategy? Should we move on to the strategy? How exactly you should strategize for this exam? What are the things to keep in mind? Does NM MBA as ops management? Ops management is there in every, mostly every MBA college. Yes, ops oriented roles are there in NM MBA as well. Is everybody clear with the previous year analysis, with the cutoffs that we've seen over the last few years? Anvesha is saying, yes, sir. Okay, what about the others? Like to see a little bit more activity? Most awaited section की strategy क्या है? अच्छा, बस strategy के लिए उठ के आ जाते हो, हाँ? Only here for the strategy. What about the others? All cool? Should we move on to the strategy? So does CAT preparation suffice? See, CAT preparation can form the basis of your NMAT preparation for sure. Roughly 70 to 80% of your preparation for NMAT will be done. The additional is writing mocks and looking at few different types of questions that don't come in CAT. Logical Venn diagram, input, output. These type of sets generally don't come in CAT, which is why writing NMAT specific mocks and also preparing, I would say 10-15 days specifically for NMAT is ideal to go ahead and score well. Okay? Okay, let's move ahead. Let's move to the 90-day exam strategy. So what do I have here? The elements that I'm going to talk about. Number one, play to your strength. There are two parts to it. Either you can go by the quant skill strategy or you can go by the language skill strategy. Ensure adaptive works for you. I'll talk a little bit about what the adaptive exam is and how you can ensure that it's working in your favor. Section wise strategy that you should have for this exam. What is the ideal attempt order? Everything that you all have been asking me, and the last few tips that I have for all of you all in terms of what it is that you should go out and do. Okay, let's quickly start off with the play to your strength strategy. Iska funda bahut simple hai. All of you at this point in time know whether your strength is QA or your strength is VARC. If I look at it from CAT perspective, matlab, am I better at quant? Am I better with numbers? Am I better with logical stuff? Or am I slightly better when it comes to reading, understanding, vocabulary, grammar, reading comprehension, and comprehension skills? If you think you are better at this quant part, then your strategy is based on that. The strategy is basically going to be dependent upon your strength, which means I want you to maximize your area of strength. Quant plus LR needs to lead to a lot of marks. So if quant plus LR can lead to roughly about 165 to 170, then all you need to do is ensure that in verbal you get your cutoff. 76 is the cutoff. If you can get roughly 80 and 85 across the two sections, which is quant and LR, add a 76 to it in verbal, you've done it. You've cleared the sectionals and you will go ahead and, clear the overall cutoff as well. So the first strategy is your quantitative skill strategy, which means quant and logical reasoning you maximize. Here also I will turn around and say it is quant plus analytical reasoning. Analytical reasoning, you can expect about 18 questions, quant 36. These 54 questions you need to maximize. If out of these 54 you can get even say 45 or so correct, okay, and out of the remaining 18 in verbal reasoning, even if you say get 9 correct, you've suddenly gotten 54 questions correct. That means you're looking at roughly around 162. So 160 above agar aa gaya, if you go ahead and score roughly in that range, you've done well, which is what it means. My quant strategy, which is 81 plus 83, gets you to 184. Sorry, 164, which means you're in the vicinity of 165 to 170. Now just clear the sectional cutoff in verbal. So if you go ahead and score roughly around 78, keep in mind 76 is the sectional. Add all of this, you are comfortably above 240. Cutoff is 235. You've gone ahead and cleared the cutoff, and you have a very, very good chance of converting NM as well because your score is good. So this is the first strategy in terms of how to attempt the paper. How to prepare for quant is a separate strategy. This is the attempt part. How will I maximize my marks in this paper basis my areas of strength? So if my area of strength is quant, this is how you should be looking at scoring across the 3 sections so that you have a good chance of clearing the cutoff. On the flip side, if your area of strength is verbal, then the recommendation is going to be the reverse, which means verbal, which is VARC, and verbal reasoning isme maximize karna hai. Now verbal, just to give you an idea, even though my area of strength is quant and reasoning, you know, as I take sessions related to quant and DILR, I don't take it related to verbal. Still, I ended up scoring almost 100 marks in VARC in verbal out of 108. Because the verbal is easy. If you know grammar, it is very easy to maximize, which is why, unlike a quant and LR, where if it is your area of strength, I'm still asking you to aim for an 80 or 85. If verbal is your area of strength, I'm going to ask you to aim for a 90 plus. Ideally, look for somewhere around 95 in verbal. And then in the 18 questions of verbal reasoning, try to get about 12 right. So if you can go ahead and just in the verbal part, verbal reasoning and verbal, score about 120, 130 marks, you are sorted. Then all you need across quant and LR is 110 or 115, which is anyway something that you have to get if you have to clear the sectionals. Okay. So verbal being your area of strength means I'm going to ask you to score very, very well in language skills. 95 or so, and this is easily doable. Anybody who's good at verbal, anybody who consistently scores 35 plus in your cat mocks in verbal, there is no reason under the sun that you will score less than 90 in language skills. In NMAT ideally 95 plus होना चाहिए. तो अगर 90 and 81 हो गया including LR, which means analytical and verbal reasoning combined, you're looking at 170 already. Now just get the quant cutoff. Cutoff last year was 71. If you add it to this, you're looking at 245 or roughly 250. Ideally, to be safe, look at 76. That means you're anyways looking at 250 plus, and you've done very well for yourself. Okay. So I hope this part is clear to everybody in terms of strategy to attempt. Sarthak is saying, I scored 195 without preparation in 21. Can I get 235 easily? How to get vocab flashcards? If you're enrolled with us at the center, you have flashcards. If not, you can just go ahead and have a look at the vocab book that has been shared with you. That should be more than enough. Okay. Sir, I have 105 in NMAT mock test. Can I get 235 plus? There's a lot of work you'll have to do, Bandita. It basically means that the concepts are not clear. Can you talk this in terms of number of questions? Yeah, I can surely talk in terms of number of questions as well. Okay. So let's talk about strategy one, okay, which is the quant strategy. Okay. Let's go to quant strategy because you're asking me for number of questions. In my quant strategy, I will say in quant, and let's put it this way. Okay. I'll put section number, section, QA, LR, VA. I will put serious attempts and I'll put guesses. Okay. Let's look at it like this. Let's look at a table. Let me create a table like this. This is how you should attempt, is the way I say. I will say serious guesses. Now this is for a person who is looking at quant skill strategy. That means quant is something you're good at. I will say serious attempts should be about 26 to 27. Guesses remaining, so that means roughly around 10 guesses. Serious attempts in LR, well, I would say, out of 36 questions, your serious attempts, because analytical reasoning, you should attempt seriously at least 15. Verbal reasoning, probably about 12. So once again, 26, 27. Guesses about 10. Here in verbal, attempt everything. Generally, there is enough time as well. But I would recommend, I would think serious guesses could be about 28 to 29. Guesses could be about, say, 7, 8. Now, if I'm looking at this, look at all of this, you're basically talking in the vicinity of about 80 serious attempts. Out of this 80, imagine even if you get, say, about maybe more than 80, right? 80, probably 80, 81. In the serious attempts, you need to be operating at least in the vicinity of about, 90% accuracy. So let's say you get 72 correct. That is 216 marks. Okay. So let me put that upstairs. Let's go up. Let's put it upper. 72 correct. That is 216 marks. In the remaining, you've attempted roughly 28. Even if you get, say, 10 of them right out of 28, say you get 10 of them right, that is 30 marks. You will still score 246. If you don't get 10 right, say you get 8 right, 6 marks low, you will still score 240. That's the way I would attempt this paper. Serious attempts at about 80, you can get about 10% of them wrong. In the guesses, even if you operate at about, out of 28 getting 8 right, that's roughly 30% correct, that if you get in your guesses. If you mark, and in the guesswork, please keep in mind, all mark the same. Either mark all as B, or mark all as C, or mark all as A, or mark all as D. Chances are higher that you will go ahead and get something correct. Okay, that's the way to attempt it here. If I look at it from the language skill strategy, well, things will change a little. From a language skill strategy perspective, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. Once again, let's put language skills here now first. Language skills is verbal, so let me call it verbal for practical purposes. I will call it VARC, then I'll call it LR, then I'll call it QA. Let's call it serious attempts. Let's call it guesses. Okay. Once again, let's put it like this. Now, if you are good at verbal, okay, I'll be very, very serious. If you are good at verbal, the serious attempts can be 32 to 33. बहुत आराम से. Guesses not more than 4. बहुत आराम से. Okay. LR, well, in verbal reasoning, you should be able to attempt 15. In analytical reasoning, about 12. So exactly the same as before, which is 26 to 27. So guesses about 10. In quant, let me assume you will do roughly about 22 to 23 serious attempts. So about 4 or 5 lesser than what you would do otherwise. Maybe even lower. Maybe probably your serious attempts could be about 21, 22. Let's say 21, 22. And guesses could be roughly about 14. So if I'm looking at it from this perspective now, 32, 26, 20, I am once again talking about roughly 78 questions. So once again, it turns out to be almost the same. Get 90% accuracy, you will get about 213, 216 marks. In the remaining guesses, 28, you get about 8 of them right. Once again, you're looking at the vicinity of about 240 plus. I hope this is clear now. I hope this is clear now. Okay, so does CL NMAT mocks have video solutions, or just text solutions? However, at least one of the NMAT mocks, what we'll do a analysis. Analysis, by analysis I mean we'll do a live attempt so that you understand, how you should go about it. So we'll have an attempt for one of the NMAT mocks for sure. Okay. Okay, ensure adaptive works for you. Now, this section is very, very important. Very important. Now, this is an adaptive exam. What does an adaptive exam mean? It means as you keep answering questions correctly, the LOD keeps increasing. The moment you answer something incorrectly, the LOD either stabilizes or it falls. That is what an adaptive exam is. And the moment the LOD increases, your marks increase. The moment LOD stabilizes or falls, your marks fall. That is how an adaptive exam works. Now, in an adaptive exam, generally the first few questions are very, very important because it forms a baseline on the basis of which the system understands what your aptitude level is and thereby goes ahead and marks you. Which is why in an adaptive exam, the impact of the first quarter of the section is very high. So out of the 36 questions, the first 9 questions become very, very important. Now, if I look at these first 9 questions, this is how it almost jumps your scoring. So this is just an example of scoring. Starting May, it is assuming, you are at 12, you are at some marks, you are at X marks, say 2 marks, 0 marks, whatever. Suddenly you get one right, jump. You get another right, jump. You get another right, jump, 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 jump. Now, if you've gotten the first 8 or 9 right, the system has already realized you are in the mid 80s ka level. The system has realized this. Now, even if you go thoda aram se, or speed reduces, say you attempt only 25 or 26 questions, the system will not penalize you as much as it would have penalized had you gotten something wrong here or here. Had you gotten something wrong here, imagine question 4, so 3 के बाद क्या होता, you would have suddenly fallen here. अब यहाँ इस level से you need to grow, eventually you would have grown only till here. The system would have thought that your level is 60s, and 60s के basis में it would have judged you. In an adaptive exam, it becomes very, very important how you behave in the first quarter of the section. Hence, the first 9 questions, do not mess around. If it means you need to give yourself 1 minute per question in quant, quant and reasoning, 1.5 minutes, give it, get those right. Get those right. In verbal, you won't have the time. Just ensure that in verbal, your accuracy is good through practice. But the first 9 questions is going to have a very, very, very big impact when it comes to an adaptive paper, which means please ensure you don't get a lot wrong in the first 9, ideally nothing. Is everybody clear with this? Is everybody clear with this part? I'll move to the next 27 questions and how the system rates you in those 27 questions as well. But is everybody clear about the importance of the first quarter of the section? How important the first 9 questions in an adaptive exam is? Everybody clear? CC? Perfect. Now let's move. Now if I go ahead and I look at it from the perspective of the other parts, look at how the system behaves. The system, for the first 9 questions, look at the jump. Just look at the jump. It has taken you from a 0 to 80 possibility. But imagine at the end of the first 9 questions, you had settled at 40. From 40, all that you might be able to move is to about a 60. If you had settled at a 60, all that you might be able to move at might be probably a 70, 75 if you get right. Now, this is so many wrong. The moment you got wrong, you went down. The moment you got wrong, you went down. You were at 70, you got another right, you could have moved to about a 75. This is how an adaptive exam works. The first few questions, very important, sets the baseline, understands your basic level, you reach that level. Now, if your accuracy is decent, operating at 85% accuracy or 90% accuracy, the system will realize this is what your level is. It will not let you fall down. That is what an adaptive exam is. It is not just absolute marks of +3 and 0. 25 attempt kar liya, 75 hai. The first few questions become very, very important. I hope everybody is clear about adaptive and everybody is clear about how important the first 9 questions are. Please don't mess this up. Clear? CC? Cool. Should I move to the third? Should I move to the third part? The third important takeaway, the third important prep strategy that you need to keep in mind in order to ensure that you go ahead and score a 235 plus. Let's move to that. Let's look at that. Okay. So if I'm looking at it from that perspective, let's look at the section wise strategy now. Now I've gone ahead and already looked at quant. I've gone deeper into it. So basis this, what are some of the things to keep in mind? Well, from a quant perspective, there seems to be no geometry. Geometry focus thoda kam. Lot of focus on arithmetic. Lot of focus on numbers. Lot of focus on modern math. After that, algebra. After that, geometry. Now, when you're preparing for CAT, the order is arithmetic, algebra, numbers, geometry ek saath, and then finally you look at modern math. So the moment you're preparing for CAT, this is handled, which means this is done and this is done. Also for most of you, 99%, I hope these two will also be done, which means these two should also be handled. So if you're preparing well for CAT, sorry, not these two, my bad, one sec, which means this should also be handled. If you're preparing well for CAT, everything other than modern math should be in your pocket. You should be very, very comfortable because the level of NMAT is way lower than CAT. The only thing, the place where you'll have to put the foot to the pedal is going to be modern math, where you'll have to go ahead and ensure that you work a little harder, because probability, permutation, combination, you might not have expected a lot of that in CAT, but you should expect a lot of that here for sure. Okay, I hope this part is clear. Okay. Second, if a DI sets look difficult, guess and move on. Do not, for 36 questions, you have about 52 minutes. Ye nahi for those 8 DILR questions, I will spend 16 minutes. Nahi karna. If the first DILR set is done in say about 6-7 minutes, the second set you started in 2-3 minutes में कुछ हिल नहीं रहा, तुम्हें लग रहा है बहुत टाइम लगेगा, कुछ नहीं, C मार्क करो, या D मार्क करो, या B मार्क करो and move on. Don't waste a lot of time. Okay, please keep that in mind. Serious attempts, I have already gone ahead and spoken about it. If you're one of those who's going to have a quant driven strategy, your serious attempt should be about 26, 27. If you're going to have a verbal driven strategy, your serious attempt should be about 21, 22. Okay, please keep that in mind. If I look at it from a language skills perspective, well, these are the kind of RCs that came last time: multiculturalism and hypertension. There were two RCs on that. Hypertension was quite easy. Multiculturalism takes a little bit of time. So once again, RCs do not necessarily have to attempt both seriously. Attempt one seriously. Second one, read a little overview. Ek do question answer karo. Answer one or two. Move ahead. Okay. If I look at it in terms of parajumble spot the error, obviously there are no subtopics here, so you don't need to worry about it and get into it. Have a look at it from the perspective of fill in the blanks and analogy. Fill in the blanks, very, very important. Vocabulary based came, two words based came, preposition based came, two words. Now, what do I mean by two words? It basically means sorry, I think this won't be two words. This might be two blanks. My bad, two blanks. So a sentence is given and there are two blanks to it. So you have to fill both the blanks, and the option A will have two options, say off, from, B, in, over, and you have to identify which of the options is correct. Okay? Analogy, synonym, antonym based. From a prep perspective, what are some of the recommendations that I'm going to give you? The level of difficulty is generally easy to moderate. If you are seriously attempting both RCs, it might be slightly tricky. If you're thinking about that, probably one RC serious attempt is enough. Second one, you can guess. If RCs are too lengthy, leave, guess and move on. Grammar is where you have to maximize practice. So one recommendation to all of you, sorry, what am I writing? Renin Martin is something that you should focus on. You should focus on the grammar book that we have provided you as a part of your course. You should also focus on the grammar sessions that are going to happen. Grammar and vocab are going to be very, very important. If I look at the previous slide, you will see grammar and vocab combined. You can expect roughly about 13 questions. Out of 36, basically almost 40%, 13 to 14 is grammar. These spot the error is nothing but grammar either. So if you add this suddenly, you're looking at 23 questions. You can say almost 70% of the paper is grammar and vocab. That's how important it is. So grammar preparation has to start. Prepositions, conjunctions, articles, nouns, tenses, everything, verbs, important. Get into everything, do everything, practice everything. There are a lot of topic tests on your MyZone. Attempt all of that. Don't miss out on anything. Okay. Finally, moving to logical reasoning. Let's start with verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning, as I stated, these are the questions that came: statement, assumption, course of action, strong and weak arguments. And logical reasoning, again, analytical reasoning, I've gone ahead and spoken about what came. My recommendations to you all: LR sets might be at the end. Don't be over dependent on that. Second one, verbal reasoning seems to be the game changer. Input, output, very important. Blood relation, very important. Direction sense, very important. Course of action, very important. Strong and weak argument, very important. Statement, assumption, very important. These three in AR, these three in VR, very, very important. Practice them like crazy. Some of you all might be asking, an RD Sharma book generally helps in some of these questions, but you don't really need that. Your topic test will suffice. In addition to that, if you are looking at NMAT specific classes, if you're part of night class or the classroom, you'll anyways get that. If you're not, you can go ahead and enroll for it and you will get all of this covered there. Okay. So that's basically the section wise strategy. Attempt we've already spoken about. Okay. Is vocab at level? No, not at all. Vocab is much easier. What is the ideal month and week of giving the NMAT exam? I'm going to talk about that. Don't worry. Any questions still here, guys? Any questions still here? Before I move to the last two parts, which is the ideal attempt order. And finally, the last few tips that I have. Any questions still here, guys? Anything? We are nearing the end. 1 hour मैं सोच के चला था. Almost there. We are nearing the end of the session. Some of you all might have a night class session. You might want to rush. So we are getting there very, very quickly. Any questions till now? Okay, I'll move on. I'll move on to the attempt order. As I pointed out, these are the 6 possibilities that come on your screen in terms of the attempt order. The attempt order that I like to look at is basically logical reasoning, quantitative skills, and language skills. This is the attempt order I look at. Why? LR ke liye VR is something I think I am not great at. Strong and weak argument, a statement assumption, implicit or not, course of action. I think I generally take time. So I want to do it when I'm fresh. AR I can handle. So AR supplements my marks here. VR I want to do when I'm fresh. Also, there is a timing issue here, because you have to do 36 questions in 40 minutes. Hence, the next section I want is quant, because 36 in 52 minutes. The first 30 seconds I can relax in quant. I can get my breath back before I kickstart. And finally, I'll move to language skills, because in language skills, there is no time to wait. And language skills is 70% grammar and vocab. So it's not like it's RC heavy that I need to have a fresh mind. So I can do it towards the end as well, whether either I know it or I don't know it. So this is the ideal order that I like to look at. You don't have to shut your eyes and follow it necessarily. You take a call basis what works for you after practicing in your mocks and seeing what works. But this is the recommendation that I will give. Is that clear? Is that clear? CL mocks use adaptive mechanism in it. Yes. Is it adaptive totally per se? No. But the adaptive mechanism is there, so you don't need to worry. LOD of the question will keep increasing. Should we put a strong section first, because you mentioned first 9 questions? The first 9 questions are important in every section, Nori. Every section, not just one section. NMAT question, medium level, CAT level. Way easier than CAT. I would say easy to medium. I would say it's about 65-70% easy, 30 to 35% medium. The right question we attempt, the difficulty level increases. Yeah, as you keep getting them right, the difficulty increases, because that's what an adaptive exam is. Okay, perfect. All of y'all are absolutely correct. Let's move to the last part, which is some last few tips that I want to leave you all with. Number one, choose the order of attempting sections on your own. Not that my friend is saying this, GB is saying this, somebody else is saying ye nahi chalega. Okay. Before I get into the last few tips, quickly go ahead, like the session. My team is once again asking me to follow up, so I'm just going ahead and doing it for them. I hope everybody has gone ahead and liked it. If you haven't already gone ahead and done that, quickly go ahead and do that. The last few tips is something that I'm going to cover right now. So before I get into that, I want to ensure everybody has gone ahead and liked it. Quickly, jaldi. No time wasting. No time wasting. Jaldi karo. Jaldi. You want satisfaction, they want satisfaction as well. Okay. Suggestion sequence of for VRC strength. Okay, I'll get there. So if you are saying that verbal is your strength, even then I would turn around and start with LR, so that you can maximize, then move to quant, because if quant is not your strength, you don't want to keep it for the end. And if verbal is anyways your strength, you can do it when your mind is not most active, so then move to language skills. So even then I would turn around and state exactly the same. I would not change it. Okay. Second point, it's a 75-day window to take the test, to choose the test correctly, the date. My recommendation of date: CAT exam 24th November. Take it about 15-20 days before that, which means either take the exam between 28th October and 4th November. Take it here. What happens is you can spend about 15th October to this time to prep predominantly for NMAT. Okay, so 28th October to 4th November ke beech mein try taking your CAT or your NMAT exam, and that leaves you with 20 days clear cut to focus only on CAT. And since only one attempt is considered, this might be a good time. The second good time is generally difficult to identify, because SNAP is also there, but probably you could take it between the 2nd and the 7th of December. But keep in mind, Snap will also be somewhere in that vicinity around 8th December or so, 7th, 8th December. Snap also happens thrice. They take the best of best of 3 scores that they will consider. So these would be the 2 windows that I would recommend, especially for those, who are looking at Snap as an exam as well. Okay. So either take it there or take it here. I will be writing the NMAT exam as well. I'll write it in the first window. Ideally, I would have written it ideally by the 15th or the 17th of October, after which I will come here and I will analyze the entire paper and give you all inputs. Hence, my recommendation: do not write the paper before I have written it and analyzed it and come and told you what to expect and how to attempt. So do not attempt the paper before 15th or 17th October. Do not register for a date like that. Okay, please keep that in mind. Maximum attempts 3, for NM only 1. We've spoken about that. No penalty for wrongly marked questions. We've discussed that. Verbal reasoning is very, 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 very important. Don't leave that. No navigation between sections. We've already pointed that out. You have to attempt a question before moving on. We've discussed that. Divide the syllabus into strong and weak topics, which means your preparation and your attempt should be basis your area of strength, which is basically what I was talking about. Revise fundamentals and focus on strengths. Geometry might not be needed. Take mocks, analyze your performance. My recommendation: take about 5 to 6 mocks. Some of you all were asking, along with CAT, how do I, go ahead and prep for NMAT? My recommendation is your NMAT preparation can start now with respect to grammar, with respect to vocab, with respect to course of action, with respect to strengthening and weakening. All of this you can go ahead and start along with that input output. Along with your CAT preparation, this should start side by side as we speak today. The time to write NMAT mocks, well, it depends on when you write your NMAT exam. If I look at it from the first window, which I told you, first window, which is 28th October to 4th November, you should calculate backwards, one mock roughly around 24th or 25th of October. You should have written one mock before, say about 4-5 days before that, 19th or the 20th of October. You should have written another one about 7-8 days before that, so say about the 12th of October. Another about 10 days before that, so say 2nd October. Another about 10 days before that, so probably say 20th of September. This would be the right time to write your NMAT mocks. You might not necessarily want to start now, but one reco, write one mock in July so that you at least know where you are as of today. And you can add any topic you want along with your CAT preparation that you want to pick up at this point in time. Okay. In case you're interested, while applying for the exam, you can also go ahead and register for the NMAT by GMSE official guide, and you can purchase that as well. That will work in your favor as well, because it will give you 2 sample mocks, and it will also tell you few questions which will be similar to what has come in NMAT before, because they pick up previous year questions and put it in the guide. NMAT is an online exam conducted by GMSE. The previous year papers are not available in public domain, so you can't access them. Okay, so that's it. Any questions, guys? That's about it from my end. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Is Arun Sharma good for quant, or it's more difficult at NMAT? Arun Sharma is way more difficult. Don't even look at it. In all sections, first 9 questions important. Yes. Suggestion sequence for quant strength, exactly what I had mentioned. Verbal or quanto, exactly the same. I have taken weekend class with CL. When are we having all of these topics in class with respect to verbal? All of this will be covered closer to your non-CAT exam. So all your verbal logic related topics will start somewhere around mid-August to end August. I'm aiming NM, not IMs. Should I give NMAT mid-December? Yes, if CAT is not your area of focus, then you can give it somewhere around mid-December. However, I have heard this thing. I cannot verify it. People state as you go later in the season, it becomes more and more difficult. I don't think it's correct. So I would state, should still give it around mid-November, but stating that I'm only focusing on NM and not looking at CAT might be risky. Only focusing on one exam, not the ideal way to look at it. Okay. I hope I've been able to go ahead and provide Arun Sharma good for CAT. Well, my personal take, Arun Sharma, great author, great thing. But the Arun Sharma books are offline books. The kind of sets that are there used to come in CAT pre-2016 doesn't come a lot now. So my recommendation is online material rather than offline material, because in pen and paper, looking, underlining, looking and writing versus reading online and writing, making notes, very difficult. So I would not recommend any offline book per se. VRC is good. Can I start grammar with CAT prep? Absolutely. Grammar and vocab, Ananya. Okay. Perfect. That's it from my end, guys. I hope this session was helpful to all of you all. In case you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the channel ASAP. We'll have a lot of sessions oriented to NMAT, oriented to SNAP, CAT, ZAT, CUET, PG, XGMAT, MyCat, MHC, सब कुछ होगा. Which is why we've gone ahead and rebooted this YT channel. There's loads that's going to come to you, but all of that is going to be in snippets. It's not that we'll cover the entire syllabus on YT. That won't happen. So in case you're thinking of doing that, I would recommend you go ahead and register for our courses. Alongside that, follow everything that happens on YT. That's it from my end. Hope this was fun. Hope it was informative. Hope this is urged you to go ahead and kickstart your NMAT preparation side by side with your CAT preparation. All the very best for all of to all of you all for NMAT. Catch you again very, very soon. Is LOD1 enough for NMAT? Yes, LOD1 and a little bit of LOD2. Can I start dedicatedly preparing for NMAT from 1st October? I would say roughly around 15th of September, better than 1st October. Okay. From where can we get NMAT past year papers? I've already gone ahead and explained. NMAT is an adaptive exam conducted by GMSE. The previous year papers are not available in public domain. Nilesh is saying amazing session. Thanks for that, Nilesh. Hope it was helpful. Hope it was helpful for all of you. Do go ahead, share love, share like, go ahead and like the session. The team will be happy. We'll be happy. We'll bring more to you if you liked it. And go ahead and post comments in the videos as well. If you liked it, ask for more such sessions and we'll bring it. State it was a good session and we'll bring it. And ask for what more you want from us. That's it from my end. See ya. Bye bye. See you again very, very soon. Tata. Good night.